Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm Lisa Natoli, and I'm so excited to be here with a dear friend of mine. Her name is Christina B. Courtney. Welcome, Christina.
Thank you so much, Lisa.
And this is just really an informal interview. And for those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Lisa Natoli. I am the creator of what's called the 40-day program for transformation. It's totally free. You can take it anytime that you're ready. And I'm also the creator of something called the Healing Cure, which is an 8-week online program for true healing. And really, it's been my interest and my passion for over 10 years of finding out how healing is accomplished. And over the last year, I've been on the hunt for individuals who are in the world who are experiencing true healing and who are living it. And so I've just been inviting people on Zoom. I'm recording it and I'm thinking it'll go a half an hour, but I know Christina's story, so it may go an hour. And we're not promoting anything, we're not selling anything. And I just want you to hear her story because I have the privilege and the honor of receiving thousands of emails from people. I get to hear their stories. And more, I just want you to hear their stories. And so excited to have you here. And the reason I add the B in there, Christina B. Courtney, is because that is her website name. I went to your website and typed in Christina Courtney and couldn't find it. So I'm going to put that in the email for all of you to find Christina. And one of the things that we're going to go through in today's call is what she calls the alignment formula. And you can sign up on her website to get this. This is so brilliant. And so it talks about alignment equaling negative resistance plus energy. So after Christina shares her story, I've asked her to just walk us through this. I also want to tell you that I have a TV show through the Teachers of God Foundation called TGF TV, and I'm one of 4 hosts. I am on the first Friday of every month on True Healing, and I've invited Christina to be my guest the first Friday of June 2020. So today, just for everyone's purposes, it is March 31st, 2020. It's 3 p.m. And I just wanted to document the time because the world is going through a massive upheaval right now. And so I just want to make sure that we put the time in here. So I wanted to get the full story though. So on June, the first Friday, it's live, it's interactive, it's 1 hour, and we take questions. So if you like today's talk and you want to engage with us together, Christina and I will be there live 10:30 a.m. Eastern in the morning. But I just felt an hour was not going to be enough time with interaction and people there and live. So I really said, Christina, can you please come on so I can just get your story straight with no distractions so everyone can be inspired by it. So I'm so excited. So Christina, I met Christina. She joined my B School group. There's an online course called B School with Marie Folio. I'm an affiliate of that group because it's changed my life. And Christina came on a year ago. So she was in my B School group. And one of the bonuses for joining B School is to get into the Healing Cure. And what I want to say at the front here is all the healing work that Christina has done, she did on her own. So I know that nothing that she's going to tell you today came out of the Healing Cure. So I just want to let you know that this is all work she's done on her own. She's going to tell us her story. And then Christina also came to a Healing Cure retreat that I offered last, I think it was in October 2019 in New York City. I was thinking about it this morning. It's crazy. It feels like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
It was months ago now. And I actually didn't know you at all. In B school, it's all about creating a business and we keep it at that level. So I actually didn't know that Christina had ever dealt with any health issues. I didn't know she'd ever done any healing work. I knew she was a coach, a speaker, an intuitive artist. She made me this beautiful bracelet. I
Aw.
love. We'll talk about this. This is, what do you call it? Birthing?
It's the spiritual midwife bracelet. So yeah, we can explain it a little bit more, but it's all about, being holding the light in each other's to help them birth the light out of themselves.
I love
Yeah.
that. So love this little gift that you sent to me. And I'm just going to get started. I'm going to ask you just, I guess, first, just to share your story. I know that, I don't know how old you are. If you want to share how old you are, that would be fine or not. It doesn't matter. But
Sure.
I know that when you were 17, you were diagnosed with a life-threatening blood disease. And so I guess if you can start there and just walk us through your story.
Sure. Yeah. First of all, Lisa, I love you so much. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm just so excited to talk about healing. This is one of my favorite topics ever. So thank you so much. Um, yeah, it started really when I was 17 and I was diagnosed with this condition called aplastic anemia. And basically, I had already gone through so much, like trauma and dysfunction, and my life was just I wasn't feeling like I was in a good place. Like I was just really struggling. I was working 3 jobs. I had just gotten emancipated. I literally divorced my parents, was living somewhere else. And I felt like I was all on my own, like completely like this island where I was responsible for everything. And I had to hold it all together. I had to be everything for everyone. And in doing that, I was really like betraying me and not being who I really was. And so I wasn't doing what I really wanted to do. I was really focused on meeting everybody else's needs, or how can I get love, or how can I help people, fix people. I was really, really stuck in that fear-based mentality and in the ego mind. And so I was diagnosed with this condition, and it really just shook up everything. And I remember going to the hospital and, going through the process, and I actually made a decision not to move through with treatment. They basically gave me the different options. The statistics weren't very good on them. And I was like, gosh, I've been through so much. Like, I don't even think I want to live anymore. Like if I could just, instead of going through chemo or a bone marrow transplant or all these like seemingly horrific things to me at that time, like, I don't even want to do it. I'm content. I'm going to just ride this out. If I have 6 weeks, like I felt like I didn't have any more fight in me. And I remember telling she's kind of like my second mom, adoptive mom at the time, that I wasn't going to be doing treatment. And I remember her looking at me, and this was like a life-changing moment for me. And she said, "What about Julian?" And Julian is a little boy that I had kind of like nannied for the first 5 years of his life. He was about 5. And after this, he wound up becoming my younger brother. It was this beautiful orchestration of events of me getting sick and us getting closer together and kind of like becoming like a family. And I remember when she said that, something clicked in me, and there was some sort of a realization. I didn't know what was happening at the time, but I realized in some way, shape, or form that my light was not just for me, like that I'm here on a mission, and that I'm here for other people, and I'm here to share my truth, to be there, but not in a way of fixing people in the way that I thought about before. It was more like, I don't know, it just, everything shifted in me. And so I made the choice to move forward with treatment, because I was then getting help and support. Like they really stepped up, and then I wasn't in it alone. And not being in it alone is one of the steps in healing for me, is stepping out of that isolation. So me stepping out of that place of, I have to do this all myself. I'm the one, if I'm going to go through treatment, I'm going to have to be in the hospital by myself. And so when they said, like, what about Julian? Meaning like, what about the other people that you love and that are counting on you and like, love you and support you, like, let us help you. And that was a pivotal time for me because it felt like that's when like the doors just like cracked open and I started to let them in, and they wound up being being in the hospital with me every single day. My adoptive mom, second mom, came to visit me in the hospital, and I moved forward with the treatment, and it wound up, I also saw that I was in control of what was happening. Even though this was happening to me, I did have enough spiritual background at the time to know in a little way that I was creating my reality and that I could choose how I was going to interface with this. And so I chose that I'm going to do good with this. Like, I'm not going to be a victim. Yes, this is happening, but I'm going to do what I can with what I'm given. And so, or what I'm lining up with at the time, not that it was given to me. So I wound up choosing joy and deciding to be as happy as I could, no matter what I was going through, and to help other people. I wound up being kind of like a poster child for bone marrow transplants. And I did some speaking gigs and tried to use what I was going through to support other people. And I think that that's another part of healing, is that oftentimes we think that we have to have it all figured out. We have to be perfect before we can help other people. But that was really the first time I was able to experience, no, you, just your authenticity, who you really are, what you're going through. You don't have to be at this like imaginary finish line that we have like worked up in our mind. We just have to be where we are and speak our truth. And there's light in that. Like, the light is always working through us, is always moving through us. And so I went through that process. And so I was getting these like little glimmers of how I could like let the light work through me. It was almost like these little lessons of A Course in Miracles were almost like coming up, even though I didn't know at the time what they were. I was still like in discovery mode.
Did you,
And
you didn't have the Course in Miracles though at first though, did you?
correct. No, I didn't have it back then at all.
And then could you give us like a time frame too? Because I know, having
Sure.
heard the story, that you got sick, decided not to do the treatment, then you decided to do the treatment, and it worked a little bit, but
Yeah.
then it wasn't working, and then you found A Course in Miracles somehow in there. And like, one of the things that I love about everything you're expressing, and A Course in Miracles talks about true healing, is true healing is healing the cause, the core that's causing the symptom. So what we do in the world, what we call healing, is to heal the symptom. We heal the pain, we heal the body sensation or whatever it is. And so I'd love for you to share a little bit about that, like what happened in that space between the treatment, finding A Course in Miracles, and then the decision of what happened next.
Sure. So I went through the treatment. I wound up being in remission. So I came out of it. And according to the doctors, I was going to be okay. But then there were all these like side effects from the medications, and I kept having other symptoms. So it was like I healed this one big thing, but then I had all these other things. So I really wasn't healed. Like, I wasn't living a healthy, vibrant life. I had periods in different areas of my life where I was experiencing that, but it wasn't consistent. And I still wasn't fully embodying my truth. I was still denying myself on some level. So fast forward years later, I did all the things that society says that you're supposed to do in order to be successful and happy. I went to college, got a great job, was making lots of money, felt really successful and happy mostly, but there was something inside that still wasn't happy. I hadn't achieved like true healing. And that's when I really pursued spirituality a lot more. And that's when I came across the Course in Miracles, and I started working with a Course in Miracles coach, and just really delving into that a lot more and learning about alignment and who I really am, which at the time was like this totally foreign concept. Like, I didn't get it. It was all new to me, but there was this resonance deep within where I just knew that this was the truth. And so I started doing that, and I wound up, I got sick again, and the old illness came back. and I needed to go through treatment again. And so while I was going through treatment that time, I was like, enough is enough. I'm not doing this anymore. I want true healing. There is a way that I can heal from this and never have this happen again. I don't know what it is, but there must be a better way. Like, there's this knowingness inside of me that this is not what my life is about. I don't have to be sick for the rest of my life, and I can be healthy. God wants me to be healthy, but I'm not matching up with that. How come? Like, how can I match up with that? And so I really delved into A Course in Miracles. And while I was going through the second round of treatment, I was really practicing the lessons. And while I was doing some of the medical things that I was told to do, I was first looking to source for guidance. So that was a huge shift for me, where rather than looking that these pills or this medication or this treatment was going to cure me, it was like, no, I'm just listening above. And if I'm called to do something, I'm doing it. But if not, I'm not going to do it. And I'm not going to lie, I wobbled a lot. Like, I would then be like, oh, okay, I'm listening above. And then I'd be like, oh, but this diet will help cure me. I'll just eat these types of foods, or I'll do this detox, or I'll go to this healer, So it was like this wobble where I thought I was listening, but then I would still, those old patterns of healing the body would come up. And so I'd say it was a period of time. For me, it wasn't overnight. It was this gradual thing of me continuing to remember and going to my truth and being like, oh, okay, I did it again. Like, I was trying to heal the body. Oops, forgive myself, and then get back on track and align with source and follow the next step, the next inspired guidance. Does that answer the question? Oh, so the timeline then would probably be in my I was 17 when I was first diagnosed, and around my mid-20s was when I started to get sick again and went through treatment, probably around 27, 28, and I'm 34 now.
Mhm.
So
I love that. And then I'm also, just for everyone, Christina has all these questions that we were going to go through here on this video interview, and this is so good. This is like gold. Hey, I'm going to email it to everyone also, so you can look for that. So what you said here is, after a relapse in 2014 that forced me out of corporate America, I finally realized that the healing needed to take place in my mind. I needed to shift my focus to identifying with my truth and stop resisting what I was experiencing. Everything changed, things started to flow. By following the principles in A Course in Miracles, I finally engaged with true healing, and the symptoms started disappearing. My blood count stabilized. I got off medications. I went to doctors less and less. I stopped focusing on fixing a quote unquote problem and focused on the light that I am and extending that light. Then I started helping others to do this too. Things got even better. My clients started having miracle results. Illnesses were disappearing for them too. The more I focused on the truth of what we are, the holy light of the world, things worked, and I got to experience myself as such. And as you just said, it didn't happen overnight for me. I had to continually choose to see myself differently, and I still do. But now that I've made the commitment to keep coming back to the truth no matter what, it's gotten easier and easier. So what would you say these illnesses taught you? Because I think this is a new idea for a lot of people, because we're so used to just saying, I'm sick, I have this symptom, and I'm going to heal it with diet, pills, medication. And what I want to say also is, for me as a teacher, I always tell people, keep doing what you're doing. I'm not a doctor. This is purely inspirational, and it is about listening within. But while one is doing all of the worldly things for healing, is to focus on the healing of the mind and the core of what's causing the symptoms. Like, and for all of us, it's, like you said, a sense of isolation, a belief that we're bodies, a sense of worthlessness, not valued, not lovable, guilty, blame, shame, like we're healing these core beliefs that we just thought were normal. That's true healing. And to let go of the idea of healing the body, but healing the things that are causing the symptoms. So what would you say this, like what it came to teach you, why it was there, what are the gifts in it?
Yeah, oh, so many gifts. It really showed me all the places where I was denying my truth. Like, in truth, I am the light of the world. I am wholly created. I am perfect, whole, and complete. So it showed me all the different places where I was believing that I wasn't, where I was believing that I wasn't good enough, or that I couldn't do what I really wanted to do, or there was some sort of limits on me, or I had to wait until this future time when I could really live fully. And so as I was going through this healing process, it was a process of stuff coming up. There were lots of things that continued to come up, and they still come up. But now it's like a process of seeing that and seeing what's actually going on and being with it. And then when you're being with it and you can see it from that perspective of truth, then it makes it easier for you to not only release it, but then celebrate it as a gift of like letting this go. And I think the biggest thing that the blood condition taught me is the aplastic anemia. It's almost like your body just stops producing blood in your marrow. So instead of leukemia, where cancer is like attacking the marrow, it's like I'm attacking my own source of sustenance, of life force, right? We need blood to survive. So it was like at the core of my being, inside of my bones, I stopped producing the light that I was. I was rejecting myself. So I realized, like, oh, my thoughts about me not being able to be who I am, me not being good enough as I am, I need to be somebody different than I am. I was rejecting myself. Like, I was rejecting my truth. I was in denial of my truth. And so, of course, the body then is showing me what I'm thinking, right? And so it was such a beautiful gift, because then I was able to see, oh, those are the thoughts that I'm thinking. Maybe I should shift this, right? Like, maybe this isn't serving me. And so my process of healing was really coming into full acceptance of who I was. And man, that's been a process, because my entire life I was conditioned to believe that who I was not right, not good enough. I received so many messages to the contrary, and I was never really celebrated for who I was. So I got to learn how to celebrate who I am, how to be with who I am, how to allow whatever emotions are coming up to be okay, and that was a process for me. When I was learning spiritual stuff, it was like I would focus on the end goal and what other people were able to do, and those old beliefs of like, oh, I should be able to do it that way would come up, and then I would use that to punish myself again. So it was like I was sifting and sorting through all these different layers of my thoughts and my beliefs that were recreating my physical environment, and recognizing if I shift those thoughts and beliefs, then I can have a different life, and I can let source flow through me. And then it becomes empowering. Then it becomes exciting. And then I'm like, man, okay, I'm getting triggered right now. I'm going through contrast. This is upsetting me. And I have all these feelings, and I'm like, oh, I don't like being like this. And occasionally I'll get stuck in that for a moment, but then I remember, and I'm like, this is not who I am. And I have enough practice now where I'm able to do that. And then I'm like, I'm believing X, Y, and Z. Why am I doing that? And I don't have to do that. And then I get to release it. And so the process now becomes so much quicker. It's so much easier now to recognize what's going on, not make it wrong, and let it be with it, connect to my truth, do Course in Miracles, read lessons, whatever I need to do to come back to who I am. And then they just disappear. Like they go away. Like the light does the work within me. It's really beautiful.
Thank you so much. You're touching on something that is very important in healing work, for true healing, that I think a lot of people miss, because we're so often as human beings focused on an outcome of what we think it's supposed to look like, and then we'll start living later,
Yeah.
when once the physical And, your story is so similar to mine. The details are different, but, I also was diagnosed with something incurable and tried to heal it through every possible way I could, through worldly methods, diet, um, and then the spiritual element. I shifted and went over, oh, it must be something in my mind, but there's still guilt there. Like it was still like I've caused it
Yep.
and now I have to heal it. So I'm still making myself guilty. I still wasn't loving myself totally.
Yeah.
And the symptoms just, they would go away and then they would come back and then they would be worse than ever. And then I would go, what am I doing wrong? Why is this still happening? I'm totally dedicated to truth and to God, and I'm just here to be helpful. And I just want to serve. I'm like, I've let go of all my grievances. And so it's like a lot of judgment, a lot of attacking myself. And finally, it was a gift to me that I got to see, oh, this came as a gift so that I can look at all my fears.
Yeah.
Like all my fears, I thought I was dying. Like I went through a period that lasted a year where I just thought I was dying every day. I was like, oh, today's the day.
Mm.
And terrified of that, but not wanting to look at the fear, like not
Yeah.
wanting to really come to a place where I was okay with it and to come to a place of absolute peace. And so for me, the healing was to say, okay, let me look at my fear of never healing on a physical level. Let me look at my fear of dying. Let me look on my fear of going blind. Look on my fear of just being this fraud of a teacher. Let me look at my fear of being criticized for physical symptoms. And so that's the real healing work. And what I love about you, Christina, so much is that to see that you have made a decision that you're not waiting for your life to start and you're not waiting to help others, that it's like, I'm healed. Like who I am in truth is totally healed, whole and perfect.
Yeah.
The joy of the world, the peace of the world, and whatever the body does, you just include it in. It's like, okay, well, that can't stop me
Yeah.
from experiencing happiness and from extending this light and allowing this light to flow through. So I think that's like a really important distinction for people to hear, because so often they're just like, I'm still sick. And it's like, no, you're not sick. Like you're maybe having an experience of a body symptom. But that's why I like this. I'd love for us to talk about this so people can uh, get a sense. You can get this at Christina B. Courtney's website, christinabcourtney.com. I will post this in the email, so you can just click the link. And it's called the Alignment Formula. And I'm just going to read the first bit, and then I'd love for you to walk us through it, because
Sure.
you've got some great questions in here. It's so great because it's so simple. It's just one page, but it's got all these amazing questions on here. You are always automatically aligning with the sum of your negative resistance and positive energy emotions in relationship to any given subject. If you want to align with something different, you have to identify what you want. You will then need to identify and release any resistance you have to aligning with that thing and increase your positive emotion energy towards having. The below prompts are designed to get you started. If you require additional support, and then you give your email here at christinabcourtney.com. So do you want to talk about, I don't know if you have it in front of you, but do you want to
I
talk
do.
about
Yep.
these questions? Okay, very good.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll just, if you guys who are watching this or listening, I don't know if you want to grab a pen or a paper, and we'll just do a little bit of exercise together.
Yeah. So basically how this came about is I've been on this journey for a long time of trying to understand how this works. I was like, I want to heal myself, and then I want to help other people heal, and I've got to like figure it out. And so as I was going through this process and learning what that looks like and experimenting and trialing and erroring, I came to this really just simple formula for life, essentially, which is that whatever we're aligned with is the sum of our resistance to that subject and whatever positive emotion or energy we have about that subject. So for example, if you really want true healing and you want to align with that, we have to decide that that's our goal, right? Like you talk a lot about making a decision, and I love that. So we need to make a decision. I want true healing. And then we need to look at it, you know, like we want to look at, okay, what's my resistance? Why do I not want true healing? Because if I'm not experiencing it, there's a part of me that wants this. And so we have to be honest with ourselves. And so I developed this process of really looking at, okay, what is that resistance? Getting curious about it, not making ourselves wrong or judging it. And also not trying to like search everything to try and fix and give yourself a lot of like homework or work, not that at all. Just from like a light place of like, I wonder what's going on. Like something must be happening here. So
But let's also add in, because my experience has been like the focus is always on true healing. The focus, the how to is always to come back to the true self, which is that which is eternal and changeless and formless and faceless, without a story, without a body. Having said that, my experience is we can ask for anything, even that in form. So you can ask for vibrant health. You can ask for healing. You can ask for perfect health. You can ask for wealth. And so this is like so important, because I think a lot of people do stay in the conceptual thing, but we don't dare to ask for what we really want.
Yeah.
So I just want to like put that in there too, because I know that it's like, oh well, yeah, I want true healing, but I also would like to not be in bed all day long, being a sick person. I'd like to be vibrantly alive again. So I just wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah, and this is basically like manifesting 101, but like simplified. But the difference is, instead of, a lot of people, when you think of manifesting, think like, oh, if I can get this thing, then I'll feel better. You know, it's like a solution to something. And so when I'm working on manifesting, it's actually just aligning with aspects of truth. So it's like letting that flow through you, what you already are, letting that flow through you. So you already are entitled to perfect health. And so we want to just align with that, rather than I need to get this and then I'll feel better. So anyways, going to the formula, it's basically like whatever you want to align with, choosing something that's of source, right? That feels like this calling for you. There's a resonance with it, right? You're gonna feel like this aliveness, like that feels juicy. That's like that's that's what I'm craving right now. That feels like alive in me. And so we pick what that is, and then we look at what the resistance is. And so these are just some questions to start to get you started, like actually looking and identifying. Because what I do with clients when I'm working one-on-one in coaching is I'll actually go through with them and we'll look at, okay, what are all the reasons? And then we neutralize them. We tell the truth instead of those things. It's almost like we take their old conditioned mind, their ego, their belief systems to court. And we say, okay, they're arguing that this is true, but let's build a case for the real truth and let's win the case, right? So that's what we're doing with this, is we're identifying what evidence the opposing party is going to bring to the table. And then we're going to bring our evidence of truth, and our evidence of truth is way more powerful. And then that stuff is going to subside. So we're identifying what's going on. If we don't see it, then we can't send the light to it. And then of course the light can just work without us doing this, but sometimes this is really helpful. So why do I not want this? Like, why would you not want true healing? Is it that you're afraid that if you were healthy, you might have to go back to work and you have some trauma going to work? Or maybe then you'll have to, live vibrantly and you're scared of living vibrantly. Maybe part of you wants it, another part of you doesn't want it. So just really getting curious about what are the reasons underneath that. Or asking yourself, why is this not safe for me? Why is it not safe for me to be healthy? Do you have any memories of when you were healthy before and something happened? And so you made a decision that it's easier to stay in bed, that I don't want to go out in the world because X, Y, and Z is unsafe in the world. Or what would I have to become that I'm not ready to become if this happened? Like, what are we avoiding? What do we not want to become? And then who am I afraid of losing? Maybe if you really heal, you're going to have to leave a relationship that you know you're not meant to be in anymore, and that feels really scary to you. Even though it feels like the right thing to do, you're just not feeling ready for that. You're feeling like there's going to be some sort of perceived loss. So then we will want to look at that loss and say, is that really true? Are you really losing? And then go through and neutralize everything that comes up. And depending on what the topic is, what you're wanting to align with, some people can have a really long list. And we would all look at like the root of what's going on there, what's happening, how can we neutralize those beliefs. So yeah, you can take your time to just really tune in, okay, what's the resistance, and make a huge list of all the resistance. And then we want to chip away at that resistance. And then on the flip side, we want to build up our positive emotion and positive energy. So this is like our argument in court, right? We're like, no, this is not true because. And that's where we use A Course in Miracles. That's where we use meditation, prayer, connecting to source. That's where we use us even going out and living our truth. Like me right now, going out and coaching and supporting other people. That helps me to heal, right? Because I'm stepping into it, I'm owning it. So that builds up my positive emotion and energy, just engaging in things like this, right? Where we're sharing our story. When we help other people, we're helping ourselves. So just really finding like, okay, what can I do? What other practices? How would I be living if I was already embodying this? What would I be feeling and enjoying that feeling? Really basking in that feeling of like, what would it be like if I was truly healthy? Would I go on a walk in the park today? Would I call a friend? What would I be doing? And then being intentional about that and allowing ourselves to have those experiences. So what I'm noticing is that it's actually really simple. It's really simple. We just really need to identify what's our resistance, release that resistance, and then build up the positive emotion, the positive energy, which is like the truth, right? We're building up our belief in the truth. And that's what A Course in Miracles is all about, is really retraining our mind to align with the truth. So yeah, I love this exercise. It really just breaks it down and it makes it feel like doable to me. I'm like, oh, okay, I got it. Because I could listen to tons of teachers and I love that too. It's always really inspiring. But to actually have a practical tool where I can sit down and I can say, okay, this is what's happening. Like I could sit down with this and I could say, okay, why did I have this bone marrow condition? Why was my blood not working? And I can be like, oh, I have these types of resistances to being healed. Why do I not want to be healed? And then really building up the truth. And that was how my true healing came about. And how whenever something new in my life comes up that I would like to align with and I'm not there, this is the process that I use and what I use with clients too. And I love it. So thank you for letting me share it today.
I love it too. And I'm just like you. I'm very practical. Like I don't like just staying on the conceptual, intellectual level. And that's what a lot of people do. That's what I did for years, of just listening to other teachers and feeling good while I'm listening to them. But then when they stopped talking, I was like, well, I still feel bad. Like I would sink back down into my own vibration and my own set point. And so we have to really find on our own how to raise the vibration, how to shift out of that state of mind. And so I love the questions. I loved what you said also, is that if we don't see it, we can't send light to it. And that's so important, like to ask ourselves these questions without making ourselves feel guilty.
Yeah.
Like why would I have done this? Like when I started having, when I started teacher, and I didn't know it at the time, but I was terrified of that. I was terrified of eyes. I was comparing myself with everyone to just get it really right. I didn't go on camera unless I knew it was going to be, and no one's perfect. So all of a sudden, I'm suddenly in a condition where I can't read online anymore. So now I'm like, start, allowing shine to me. And finally, thankfully, it was like, enough of that. Like, I have physical symptoms forever. That's not going to stop me from being the light I am. And Philly is like, this is what my life looks like. And I make a ton of mistakes. I'm not perfect. And when I thought about what life looked like I love that you asked that question straight out of this is now 2000. Pick up bed and walk. So I always want to get people to think about that. We just are sitting in our sickness thinking, once I'm healed, then I'll know what happens next. But this kind of work, we're getting intentional to imagine and vision what your life actually looks like, feels like beyond the healing, to
Yeah.
accept your healing now and say, I am. That's being, that's enough to make myself guilty for being sick. I am healed. Okay, so say, well, what does that look like? Well, it means I'm going to start being on camera. That was one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that was terrifying because it was like, oh my God, everyone's going to know I'm sick. Everyone's going to be like, what's wrong with Lisa? And I got that. People
Yeah.
would say, like, there's something wrong with you. And like, I just was like, I think when, especially if you're faced with death, you get to a point where it's like, it doesn't matter to me. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. Like I'm
Yeah.
just expressing joy and peace and happiness and join others to the party. And and so that's why I love this formula so much, because it's the same process that I use. And I love that you're talking about what would it feel like to have or be this. Most people do not consider that. They don't consider what it would feel like to have vibrant health. They just think, well, I'll know when I get there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love what you say about stepping in and just doing it now, like pick up your bed and walk. That was really the turning point for me, was maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago when I really just stepped into it. I was like this knowingness that I wanted to be some sort of a spiritual teacher or healer or something like that, but I wasn't doing it. I was like, well, I have to be fully healed first. I've got to like be here before I can, who am I to help other people if I can't help myself, right? So I finally just stepped into it and I was like, no, I can help people. I can help people right now. And I just started coaching. I just started helping whoever came to me. And that's when the healing like really took off. And like I feel like what anchored it is when I made the decision that I was ready, right? I made the decision that I was healed, holy, and perfect, regardless of what the physical was showing up. And so I stepped into it. And then as I'm helping other people, it's like it just, those roots go deeper, right? And it just really becomes my new identity. And I think that we have to engage, we have to do. It's not just a conceptualizing thing and in the later it will happen, or when this X, Y, and Z. It's like, what can we do now? How can we embody it now? Let's start right now. So I love that you say that.
You know, now it's March
Oh, you're breaking up a
2020.
little bit.
Like what you just said is so important. What can I do now? Like it's March 31st,
Mm-hmm.
2020, and the world's on total lockdown. The entire world, people are dying. There's just like panic everywhere. And for each and every one of us to just recognize, okay, where am I worried or afraid, or where am I, that's what sickness is.
Yeah.
And to recognize, like, let's not wait for the world to open up again and for like the government to tell us we can go out again. We recognize, oh, today's the day. How can I give?
Yes.
Who can I call? Even if you can't go out of your homes, you can call people, and you can be a light where you are, and you can live in joy. You can really just go, let me use this time to be creative or do things that rest, just totally relax. Like I have this spot. It's the sun has moved over there, but this is in my office, and behind me the sun comes in full blast in the morning. I put my bathing suit on, and I'm at the beach right there on the there. You just like to really just go, hey, I'm gonna fix that. That's it is for me. Just like I am whole. Don't have to like I don't have to rush about anything anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm so excited to have you on the TV show. I'm so happy for people to come and find out more about you on your website. And in closing, I'm just going to do one more question for you.
Sure.
I asked, what would you say to someone who is trying to heal? And I'm just going to give you a little bit. You wrote down your answer just to prompt you, but I love this. Stop focusing on the body.
Yeah.
And you said, get curious about what's going on and what thoughts you're thinking that are creating what you are seeing. Realize that you're creating everything that you're seeing. Forgive yourself. This is so important. Make a commitment to yourself to learn about who you truly are. That's why you got sick in the first place. You don't know who you are. So, what would you say to someone who is trying to heal?
Yeah, exactly that. It's focusing on the thoughts instead of the body, like abandoning what you think is what you have to do in the physical world and align with your truth, right? And so, and when we're aligning with our truth, we need to get curious, like, where are we now? In order to like get somewhere else, we have to know where we are on the map. Okay, where am I located? And you talk about this, am I located in love or am I located in fear? And so we have to find our location. What's our point of viewing? So we locate where we are, and then we identify why are we there? You know, what happened? What are our thoughts? If I'm really creating my reality, what thoughts would I have to be thinking in order for this to be my reality? So facing that, looking at that, getting curious about that with love, right? With love and compassion, not judging ourselves, but just saying like, okay, what's going on? What's going on here? So getting curious about that, identifying, and then we need to choose differently. We need to say, okay, I've been believing this. This has been what I've been thinking about myself, and I created this. I forgive myself. I'm willing to see this differently. I'm willing to have a different results. And then we go to the truth, right? Then we go to the truth. That's what I love about A Course in Miracles. It's just flooded with truth. So we find something else to replace that thought. If we were thinking that we're weak and frail, then we go to a lesson that says, you know, that we are, what's the lesson? I'm losing the words right now, but like abiding in the strength of God, right? Like relying on the strength of God. If we think that we have to do it all, let's replace that with the truth that we don't have to do it all, that God is our strength. And so whatever those different beliefs are, I'll sometimes even just write lessons next to them. Like if I notice that I'm in resistance to something, list out my resistance, and then I'll list out the counter argument. I will look at, okay, well, what does God say about this? What's the real truth? And then I align with that truth instead. And then miracles happen. Like the body is a result of what you're thinking in your mind, not the other way around. So we have to start with the mind. We have to start with what we're thinking, what we're feeling, and shift that over to the truth.
I love that. And you know, you just said something I'm constantly saying all the time, you know, about the law of seeing. So it's from A Course in Miracles, lesson 189. I feel the love of God within me now. And it says that the law of seeing is that you will see what you feel within. And so
Mm-hmm.
we think in the physical world that we're seeing a world and that it's definitely happening the way we perceive it. So many
Yeah.
people right now are like, well, I'm seeing a world that there's a virus. We're seeing a world where we're fearing each other. We're fearing to touch each other. We are afraid of the economy collapsing, people out of work, no money. And we're feeling afraid. We're feeling worry. We're feeling confusion. So we're literally seeing what we're feeling. We're seeing so I still read the news. Like I still am looking at the news like many times a day. So it's not like I'm not looking, but what I'm feeling is total joy and peace. So all I see is a world where people are more to their center, people are helping each other, people are like, okay, new beginning. Like I'm seeing a world that's going to arise out of this that we haven't seen before. Like I'm seeing people that are listening more. I'm seeing families that are together. I'm seeing that, everyone's like, oh wow, okay, like the whole world's one.
Yeah.
So it's like that's what that means, is like we're shifting out of our what we thought we were seeing, and that's the immediacy of this work. It's like I was seeing myself as sick and frail and weak and powerless. And then it was just a shift in attention. It was like a shift in focus. No, like, okay, I'm not sick. I am strong. Like I am clear. You can do something right now. And so the excitement I feel about, finding you and having you share your story is just, my gratitude just cannot be expressed adequately for the work that you're doing, Christina. And would you like to share any final thing before we close?
I'll just a thank you to you. I feel the same way. And I'm just so grateful for you setting this example of just really living this way. It's been so inspiring to me because there's still times when I don't do it perfectly. And so to see other people that are really just really living it is so inspiring and so helpful. It feels like it just gives me a whole nother level of permission to just to show up as I am, to just do it exactly as I am. So I just love you so much. And I'm so grateful for this.
That is so funny. And I hear that so often, that people look to me as like a role model, because I just show up and just whatever, like in whatever state. They're like, oh, if Lisa's doing it, I
Yeah.
guess I could just show up and be myself. So
Yeah. It's such a gift. Thank you.
now I want to thank everyone for joining us. And I invite you to go to Christina B. Courtney's website, sign up on the mailing list. You will absolutely love her. And I also just invite you to come join us on the first Friday of June at 10:30 a.m. in TGF TV. And I'm feeling like it'd be fun to work through this, to actually go through this alignment formula with everybody on the board. And
Oh, sure.
we can bring people on to talk to us and share their process and all of that. So
Love that.
I love that too. So thank you, Christina. Thank you to all of you who are watching. I love you.
Love you. Thank you, Lisa.
Hold on.
Okay.
That's funny. Usually I just end the meeting. Let's see. I'm just gonna